Our next panel discussion is about the importance of innovation in fashion, and the stage is being set for that. I'd like to bring on stage first the moderator for this session. He is a thought leader in fashion media, and he has shaped key conversations in the intersection of fashion, culture, and design. Very proud to present to you Mr. Vinod Nair, consulting editor for luxury and fashion. Hearty welcome on stage, sir. Joining him on stage as panelists, a renowned fashion choreographer, designer, and image consultant. He has over 30 years of experience and he has significantly shaped the Indian fashion industry. A name that needs no introduction, Mr. Prasad Bidapa. Welcome, sir. Joining him on stage is a celebrated Indian fashion designer who's renowned for his innovative menswear that blends traditional Indian techniques and modern sensibilities. And he also has a particular focus on sustainability and ethical practices, which gives him a unique touch. Suket Dhir, welcome, sir. Joining us, another talented fashion designer who is celebrated for his avant-garde collections that merge Indian heritage with global trends, Mr. Sujith Sudhakaran. Hearty welcome, sir. All the designers on stage, all of them are artists who blend modern aesthetics with traditional craftsmanship, something that we're extremely proud of. Now I hand it over to Mr. Vinod Nair.
Second time, so very good evening to all. I welcome all my panelists and thanks for being here. And also at the same time, I'd like to congratulate Tom and his team for organizing such a wonderful and unique event. We are supposed to talk about the future of fashion. So I feel we can't look at the future without having a brief glimpse of the past, what happened in the last 25 years or 30 years. So I like to start with, when I started my career, which is about, I was very young and I'm still young and 30 years later. So there were like a handful of designers to begin with, very creative as they are today. They were very creative even that time. But the fact which was missing that time was the way they did fashion shows. So it was, society people come and have a drink and some drama happens on the fashion runway. The original sense, the purpose of Fashion Week, as you know, is to, technically all over the world is for media and the buyers and few customers, who are celebrities. But here, especially in Delhi, I'm talking about early 90s when I started. I remember I was working for Times of India and the main purpose was the cocktails. And the collection came as an afterthought, if you want to see sometime, especially if the bar was open, there's no one on the anywhere to be seen the show. So in the past, it used to be like that. Then gradually, that time we looked at the future. People like me used to wish that there was an organized effort to promote fashion through Fashion Week, where buyers and the relevant media are invited and serious collections come on the runway, commercially viable at that. That is the future we looked at in the early 90s. And then in 98, Fashion Design Council of India was formed. And the first Fashion Week happened, which we all were hoping like a few years ago. Then the frenzy started. Half of Delhi used to queue up outside the venue trying to get in because the first fashion week, the glamour and supermodels walking, even from England, if you remember, the Jodie Kid supermodel walked that runway. And then we reached a plateau after some time. The buyer the participation lessened. That 11th of Fashion Week also started getting diluted. Then we all wished, how like Yoji Yamamoto or like how Japanese designers invaded the West. I wish an Indian designer's name is also begin to see in the West. Then people like Suket, Concord, that side, we took part in the Woolmark International Award function, beating, I don't know, 100 plus designers from around the world. He became the winner there. And then people like Rahul Mishra went to Paris, started showing in Paris. Before that, Manish Arora. Now, as we stand today here, or sit to correct my language, where do you see the fashion going from here? After coming through the last 25 years, if you were to look at Prasad, you discovered superstars, supermodels, Deepika, Anushka, and Reshmika, etc. So you discovered the future in modeling, and you also do fashion week in Bangalore and Colombo and elsewhere in the world. In Rajasthan, you promote the craft there. So if you were to look at the fashion in the next, I always like to look at the immediate vicinity. I wouldn't ask you what's going to happen in the next 25 years. Now that 25 years have passed, how do you see it?
Thank you, Vinod. It's actually been a very interesting journey to watch Indian designers emerge, literally like butterflies from a chrysalis. And I've actually been around for 50 years now, seeing it from the days of Ritu Kumar and coming up to people like Rohit Bal and Tarun Tehliani, who were the next generation after that, and then seeing it becoming such a big business, to see a Sabyasachi make it into a multi-million-dollar business, to see Indian designers sort of trying to approach the West and make an impact. I feel that India at this point in time is on the cusp of greatness. There is something that is going to happen which will now, I think, establish the fact that India is a treasure house of design, not just because of our textiles and processes, but also because of the thinking of young Indians and the way they approach global markets. To say that let's approach them the way Suket does, using Indian textiles, Indian techniques, but creating a global product. And if that can be successfully translated, there is no reason we do not have the next Versace with us, or the next Armani, or the next Yamamoto, or the next Miyake with us. But the problem I often feel is that, for example, today Reliance is putting a lot of money behind the designers, making them emerge into the Indian market and, opening shops for them all over. But I do not see this effort happening in the West, because it's not going to happen unless someone with very deep pockets, like the Ambanis, say, okay, they're going to take Suket Dhir and make him into a global phenomenon. They're going to open 500 shops in the next 2 years all over the world in the fashion capitals. Until that happens, a Gaurav Gupta or a Rahul Mishra going and doing a single show is not going to get us anywhere, Vinod. It has to be a concentrated business plan, because when the Japanese came into the market, they also came with very deep pockets. And I think very clever people realized that this could be the next wave of fashion and decided to invest in them. That investment I do not see happening in India. Today I see Reliance acquiring 51%, 49% of various brands. The Aditya Birla Group has taken over people like Tarun Tehliani and Sabyasachi, whereas Reliance has got Abraham and Thakur, it's got Manish Malhotra, it's got many designers. But they seem to be concentrating on the Indian market, quite rightly so, because India is also going to become one of the biggest markets of the future. We are going to beat the West. But for a global presence to happen, I do not see that kind of money being spent on our design names. So until that happens, I don't see very much happening.
One of the things I've advocated through my articles many times, okay, is corporatization. You know how LVMH. You know, if you look at the Christian Dior or Louis Vuitton or Christian Lacroix, Donna Karan, etc. The French giant, luxury giant, when they acquired their stake in it, that time I wished Indian designers also got corporate support, because you know beyond a limit, expansion is only possible if you have investments coming in. Now that Prasad has taken your name, Suket, and you told me backstage that even for 1% he is not willing to sell at the moment to divest. So your views on the future, and also like how your future is going to look like without divesting.
Um, I think I'm a very agreeable person, which usually designers are not supposed to be. And I 100% agree with Prasad. Uh, I, we are sitting on the cusp. There are some great things happening. The whole world has already reached a point where they are giving recognition to the artisans who are making their clothes. So, for example, Dior did a show in India just a bit back, and that's when the whole world found out that some of the most expensive pieces that Dior produces are being produced in India. I think that is also happening with other brands. I mean, we are from the industry, so we already know which are the international brands that have been sourcing their textiles from India. You know, you have Dries Van Noten, Haider Ackermann, Dior, we know, and then there are many other brands that have been sourcing fabrics and textiles and crafts from India. But since we are talking about the future, one of the most amazing things that is happening in the world is the AI revolution. Now, while AI looks very scary, I think for India, AI is going to be, even if India doesn't do its own AI, like right now, the current conversation is that China has launched its own DeepSeek portal of AI, and where is India in that equation? And while we build our AI platforms which are made in India, even if that is not happening, AI is going to affect the world very positively, according to me, because if the manual labor for so many processes where we need people, if the people get redundant, where would the people go? Which are the things that AI and robots can't do? It's our crafts. So when people get redundant, they have to fall back to the age-old practices which have been in practice for thousands of years. And I'm saying thousands, I'm not saying centuries, with a lot of responsibility, because these crafts are thousands of years old. You have scriptures and you have manuscripts where all of these things are mentioned. So hunar, that word hunar, which is quintessentially talent, is going to be of much higher value than, say, doing a BA, MA, BCom, MCom. You know, where a BA or a BCom graduate is struggling for a 12,000, 14,000 rupees salary and sticking to minimum wages. You know, a tailor's starting salary is 22,000 in Delhi. And a master pattern maker, he can be paid up to 5 lakhs, 6 lakhs. Sky is the limit these days. So, you know, all of the Savile Row kind of tailoring that you get at all the old school tailors that there are in Chennai, we have them here in Cochin, we have them in Trivandrum, we have them in Delhi, we have them all over. Those tailors are getting their money's worth now. So hunar is the way this thing, you know, the way embroiderers get paid, the way the sculptors get paid, the way it's never been seen before. While we are all worried about that, oh, the children of the craftsmen don't want to take over their parents' business, I think that ship has already sailed. They will very soon have to rely on their parents' business. And the world recognizing Indians for the crafts is going to act as a catalyst, because when a craftsman's children know that, okay, their products is being sold by Dior and is being worn by the likes of Charlize Theron's and Kim Kardashian's and all of the superstars of the world. And then once Indian Bollywood also follows suit because they always sort of follow. And these people are also going to follow. I hope I'm not sort of deviating from that, but I think this is something which is very important. As far as corporate houses investing in us, see, corporates usually play very, very safe. They always look at the bigger chunk of the market. Unless we designers show them a working model, they're not interested in investing their crores into us. So I think there are a few brands which are ready for those kind of investments who are already very, very big globally. It's just a matter of time. I probably think that even those brands will be very careful of selling to. I think as soon as LVMH comes to shopping to India, some of the brands will actually start raising their hands, which are not ready right now. So even they are very, very careful of who they sell to. Corporatization is inevitable, but it's just a matter of time now.
Suket, the investing arm of LVMH, which is called L Capital, now they changed it to L Caterton, made their rounds a few years ago, and I had chance to speak to this, some of my old friends sit at the helm of L Caterton or L Capital. So the problem they faced that time was that designers were doing very well in terms of revenue, but most clients chose to pay in cash, which is unaccounted. So the book remained low on figures. So because of which, they couldn't touch those designers. Even they approach. There are very few designers that time. Like Sabyasachi accepts cash, but he accepts RBI regulation. As per the regulation, he can't accept anything above 2 lakhs. So anything above 2 lakhs, he wanted proper documents, and with 2 lakh cash also, he wanted PAN number to be quoted, etc. The form. Do you think that that affected the foreign agencies investing here?
I think not just that. I think even they were a little bit more premature, ill-advised. They ended up investing in something like Fab India. I think they should stick to their core business, which is high fashion. I think if that was their expertise, they know how to create luxury and dreams. And you can't create luxury in the world without India. It's impossible. Whether it's jewelry, whether it's garments, textiles, furniture, you name it. It's impossible to create luxury in the world without India. If it's happening anywhere, I don't think it's even touching the epitome of luxury. They've marketed it as luxury. But what we've seen, we know of fabrics which take 30 days, like 1 meter takes 30 days to make. You can't match that. Nobody in the world can match that. That is happening here. And it's happening in droves. And here we're talking about a few things like textiles and jewelry. There's boat making that's being done here for the sheikhs of Middle East, the handcrafted wooden boats that are made here. That industry is age old. It's like a 10th, 20th generation of boat makers that do those luxury boats. Nobody knows about these things, but they're still happening here. So I think we're just I can't use those words. It was premature something. I think they just sort of came in a little too early with bad advice. Right now is the right time. And again, they should stick to high fashion.
Sujith, accomplished designer, I would say, especially a lot of designers that I know in Bombay and Delhi, they always dreamed to work with film stars, because fashion and film are kind of they have a very intimate relationship. Some would say that fashion influenced Bollywood or the cinema industry, and some would say that what the actors wore percolated down to the masses through fashion designers. So congratulations, a little late, but better late than never, on your national award.
Thank you.
So what would you say, how is your experience, and where do you think this future of fashion in terms of films is looking
Good evening, everybody, and gentlemen out here. They're quite seniors to me, especially Mr. Prasad. I used to look up to him in my college days. I was doing my degree in Bangalore, and he used to be a mentor to the college. And often, we used to see them as the demigods. So huge. We can probably, to have a glimpse of them is something like huge for us. So to be seated along with him is something like a huge privilege as well as a little scary also for me. Don't take me wrong, because I'm very sure like this is something I never thought in my life. So this is very huge for me. Number one. Number two, I don't know. See, when everybody is talking about future of fashion or anything of even luxury, I'm thinking about the common man. I mean to say that maybe we're talking about the 4 or 5 contestants who are participating towards the luxury brands or even going out of India and making it a big point. I'm looking at this time, especially 2025. I'm looking at this. What a common man can achieve, or he can come up to, or what he can contribute to fashion and take it back as money, or his fame, or even the value to the society. So I believe that this is the right time, especially when we see things are very real now. Because in the 90s or even the 2000s early, for a common man to look into a fashion show, it was something like he might be enjoying it, but what is this exactly? When I'm going to wear this, where these people are going to wear it? That I'm talking about maybe I was like 15, 18 years old at that point of time. I was really thinking why these people are making it. I mean, this is not something which I'm going to wear or anybody else, even in the film industry or even the celebrities. For a daily life, I don't think that this is going to happen. But I know that why they're doing this part of the creativity, what they're making different from others. So all this point comes later, a little later. But as we are talking right now, how this period of the time, what we are 2025, what the common man can bring into the industry. I mean, how he can build his own brand, or even so when I look into that, I really believe that the khadi industry, I mean, I think that there is so much into or over there right now. Even people haven't made big over there in the sense that what they can exactly do. I think that minimum 25 brands should come out. Maybe I mean to the global area. I mean, I think that there is a great scope there. Or not only the khadi. I meant to say that our local weaving, each and every state we've been. Mostly I've been to different states in India because of shooting. So I make sure that I travel around the city or even the local villages around. So I'm always amused by the fact that who is going to bring all this art practically, in the sense that there are some things which we, when we go there, we know that this is not something what people can afford to even. I know that's very rich, it's very good, it's very different, but as a brand or even as a clothing, it cannot come out as such and everybody can acquire it, or even to the international stage. So I believe that even if you look into the movies, now it's not about how big you make your movie. It doesn't make any sense. You make a movie for 500 crores, your movie might fall flat on the first day. But you make a movie maybe for 25 crores, 10 crores. If that is relevant enough, if that is good enough, it's traveling. There are a lot of examples in 2021 to 25. Especially, you might have seen some of the biggest movies flopping with the biggest stars, biggest director, biggest production companies, backing them. But there are some small movies, even like a movie like Kantara. I'm sure it's from the Karnataka state. So, I think that was made somewhere around 10, 15 crores, roughly, maybe max. And the way it traveled, the kind of accolades it bring into the table, So I think that when you're very sure about something, even maybe the smallest thing, the smallest idea, so I think that's very strong. If you have a great desire to bring that and work on it, maybe for a little time, you practice it, you maybe learn about it, then if you know that it's serving the society, it's serving the common man, it makes a lot of sense. I think that it's not every time you have to be the number one or the most luxurious one, but you can be relevant and making it big. And also maybe, I think that even in the market, even after the online market popping up a lot these days, so we know a lot of brands which are coming from India, which are making it really big also, maybe within months. So that's really happening now. So I'm very thrilled to see that, because all these I meant to say that Ambani's or anybody, the bigger ones backing few people, that might happen luckily for somebody. But this is something, the idea which I'm like excited about is something which can happen to anybody. Especially with the PM fund, which is happening right now. We know that, I don't know how many are actually aware of that even. The PM fund is almost like 50 lakhs, which is coming from the government right now. At least 25% of that is been waived off. That means when you're getting a loan for 50,000 for your entrepreneurship, you are 17,000, almost 17,000, you don't need to pay back. Your interest levels are very less. So I meant to say that when people really have a passion, and if they can really look around for crafts, maybe fashion, maybe films, maybe movies, whatever you're up to. I'm more interested in fashion and clothing and other things. But I'm more interested in things where anybody who want to make it big, so they can make use of such things. And when, especially when governments are backing it, and when you really know your craft, and when you have the right people with you, and with a lot of discipline, you can really make it big. So I'm great fans of people and entrepreneurs and even youngsters, or even the elder ones, maybe even after somebody after 50, if they know the craft with the online market, making use of the right use of it, I think that they can really make it big. So this time, I mean, especially 2024, even next 5 years with AI, and with the right amount of government and the other private sectors backing in, I think that this is one of the best times where we are in. Because back in maybe around 15 years back, if somebody really want to really have an idea, and if they want to make it something to the market, it was very difficult. Now, when you can, if you can crack it, you can really make it.
Talking about innovation, uh, whenever I attended, wherever I attended fashion weeks, uh, usually the younger ones, junior, like entrants into the fashion weeks, who are like kids of maybe 20, 22 years old, they are always given the 12 o'clock slot, the afternoon slot. And senior, as the day progresses, it'll become mid-level to all the prime slots, as they call it, where people actually come. A lot of people attend are the shows that come after 6 o'clock, like 6, 7, 8, and the final one at 9. So I personally always used to, I may skip the evening shows, but I never skip the 12 o'clock, the Gen X shows. And through Gen X shows, I found a lot of people, Nachiket Barve or Nachiket Barve or Rahul Mishra, Sabyasachi, several designers who are making Gaurav Gupta, making waves. I found them through the Gen X platform. I was interested in seeing more of the junior designers than the senior designers, because seniors used to somewhat do the same thing. They may be slightly different, but the essence was the same. That's where the theme of this summit comes in, the innovation. So youngsters always wanted to come out with something fresh, and in terms of ideas and looks and design and everything, which is highly in terms of innovation. And since they are kids, I saw them as a future in fashion. So that I thought gelled well with our topic, and I like to hear your views on the younger lot and how far they can innovate. If you innovate too much, you get into trouble because people won't buy. It will be highly creative and outlandish and unwearable. And you have to draw a line somewhere. And we have, unfortunately, an example, a designer who I admired a lot, Manish Arora, the first one to show at London Fashion Week, the first one to be at the Paris Fashion Week. Very futuristic and very innovative, very highly innovative, but the business didn't take off. So where do you draw the line is something I like to know from all three of the panelists.
Vinod, I think that innovation for its own sake is meaningless because if you're determined to do something different, and like you said, it may not sell, and that defeats the purpose of everything. Unfortunately, in India, our couture market is largely confined to the bridal market. So if a designer is not doing bridal, then they're not going to make that kind of money. Today, if Sabyasachi has made a lot of money, it's because of the bridal market, a Manish Malhotra bridal market. So a designer like Abraham and Thakur or Suket Dhir, who do not address the bridal market, will then be in some kind of a pret kind of a level where they may not be able to scale it up too much. And that's the other problem with innovating with Indian textiles, because Indian textiles, heritage textiles, do not scale very well. It's very difficult to create large quantities of it. Today, if Versace is so successful, it's because this base fabric comes from China. And they can give you thousands of meters of it, exactly the same as the first meter till the 5,000th meter. The printing will be the same, the colors will be the same, there'll be no variation. But when you use Indian textile, it's variation everywhere. So khadi as a fabric or handloom as a fabric cannot scale to those levels. So I say keep it in the luxury sector, keep it for the handmade section, keep it exclusive, keep it bridal, because over there it works very well. But when it comes to scaling, I think the new generation of Indian designer has understood the market much better. I fully expect Suket to become a top selling designer in China one day. Why not? We have to take the battle to those frontiers and say that we can do something better than you. Because today the Chinese are copying everything from Kanjivaram silk to Banaras weaves. They have actually bought the looms and taken it back to China. The weavers of Tamil Nadu are sitting in China teaching them how to do everything. They computerize the whole thing, digitalize the whole thing, and they bring out masses of Benares saris and Kanjivaram saris, which are sold on the streets for 500 rupees. And to the untrained eye, they look the same. If your household helps daughters getting married and she wants to buy a rich looking Kanchipuram sari, she's obviously going to buy the fake one. At which point, what right do we have to say anything to her? She cannot afford a 50,000 rupee sari or a 1 lakh rupee sari, or like Neeta Ambani can afford a 25 lakh sari or a 1 crore sari. Nobody can afford it. So ultimately, what happens? It just falls by the wayside completely. So I think that innovation has to be handled very carefully. It's something that we need to really think about very carefully and say that an Indian designer, to be great, does not have to promote Indian textiles or Indian techniques. He has to take his place in the global pantheon. He's got to be competing with Versace. He's got to be competing with Dries Van Noten or whoever is the current flavor of the year. Today, even a label like Zara has doubled its prices because they want to be affordable luxury. But Indians are buying Zara in vast quantities. I mean, I went to the Zara sale the other day. I couldn't reach the clothes. There were so many people shopping over there. So we really have to divorce one from the other and allow the Indian designer to be non-Indian in many ways. I think that would be innovation on a very high level because all Indian designers come with this baggage. Are you working with Benares? Are you working with hand-woven fabric? Are you working with heritage fabric? Why should they? They can't scale it and sell 1,000,000 pieces tomorrow. So it's unfair to expect it from them. But I do expect them to keep a certain margin of luxury wear within that Indian heritage fabric, like Suket has done the project with me for Eri silk or Benares. His Benares collection last year was stupendous because it was the first time I was seeing Benares as a textile being created into Western garments, into global garments. No longer was it just a sari or a dupatta or a ghagra or anything like that. Here there were trench coats and pants and shirts and suits coming out of the whole thing. I love to see that kind of innovation. To me, that is true innovation.
When you actually mentioned some of the hyper creative collections being impractical, They do excite us because it's absolutely new, and there is a place for that. The newness actually catches the eyeballs. But I think exposure is something which is missing for a lot of newcomers. Because a lot of this creativity is actually, a lot of creativity comes from the grassroots. But then those grassroots, they might have actually gone online because internet is available, online access, everybody has. But again, we don't have the ability to research, and we don't even know what we are looking for. So everybody knows what Ray Kawakubo does in a fashion show. Everybody knows what Vivienne Westwood does in a fashion show. But nobody knows what Ray Kawakubo actually sells, right? So, John Galliano. So we know that what actually goes to the Met Gala, we know all of those things. But we don't know that the white t-shirt with just her name written on it outsells all of the things that she's done for the ramp. So now what the young designers miss out is those nuances. Even I got to know those things once I went for my Woolmark prize. I went there and I saw, okay, they are doing real people things. That is where they are getting their monies from. But their signature, what they are known for, is what they do on the ramp. So Manish Arora was absolutely spot on with his shows. There was nothing wrong in that. I just think that, again, a corporate house backing him, a good business mind backing to make use of all of those eyeballs was missing. Yes. So those t-shirts and all of those things were missing. So I think those are also, I think, matter of luck and chance, and all of those things also matter a lot in our lives.
Just like to jump in over here. I think couture drives the engine.
Yes.
It just gives you the publicity. You look at a Sabyasachi show and say, oh, wow, that's fantastic. But nobody might buy those clothes. But they will go and buy something that is a drop-down Pret collection, or like a t-shirt, like you
Yes.
mentioned, or a perfume.
Yes.
Because Dior, for example, makes their money on perfume. The
Hermes
couture
on
is
the
only
buckles.
to sell the perfume.
Hermes does the buckles,
Hermes
the
and their
belts.
buckle. You know, it's just one or two things that they buy. But Indians as a race, I think we are a very difficult market because we are as large as Europe. Each state of ours is as big as a country in Europe. We all have different viewpoints. What sells in Kerala will not sell in Uttar Pradesh. What sells in Gujarat will not sell in Karnataka. So the designer really has a challenge ahead of them.
Yes.
How do you address a market that is already very global when you're looking at India? And then to go outside and call that global. I feel that India is the big challenge. India is the big market. And many clever designers, present company also, are looking at India through a different lens. We're looking at India through a young person, young people like the students of Jain University, who are technically global citizens. You see, that's a generation that gets their information in seconds. Someone does a fashion show in Paris, the students know about it 2 minutes later because you're following it live on Instagram. In my day, we had to wait for Vogue magazine to be shipped by ship. My mother used to get Vogue magazine 6 months after
6
the
months
publication
later.
date.
Yes.
You know, so we were 6 months behind fashion always.
And the television was about a year after.
Yeah, you know,
So-
but now look at it. So, I mean, I mentor a lot of students at NIFT and Pearl and all the, and I say, you guys have no excuse not to know anything. You have to know everything because it's at your fingertips. The research that took us 1 week to do in a library, you all can do in 5 minutes online.
See,
Sujith, you know, I'm sure you know what I'm talking about because your generation, I mean, you're the youngest person in this panel. And I feel that in many ways, you have the responsibility to become global before everyone else does.
exactly.
Yeah.
No, we have to, Prasad, taking from there, I think the game for India, the challenge for Indians is that when we look at abroad, I'm going to again say something which I think is true. We all know. We have a natural knack of picking the worst things from the West to emulate. I mean, West has great models to which we need to emulate, but we don't need to emulate the things that they, for example, we need to understand the sensibilities of Indians. I'm not talking about aesthetic sensibilities. Something which is common between a Punjabi and a Keralite is the value system. You'll buy little, buy good. That is what my grandma used to say. I am pretty certain a grandma from Kerala said the same thing, right? So these are our value systems which are very different from the Western value systems. I think that is, and India gives us, being in India gives us the most amazing opportunity to be hyper niche. Like you said, that every region and every nook has a different food, different craft, different super speciality. So, when you go to the West, every district will have this chocolate which is popular all over the world. You have champagne which comes from that region, and it is only called champagne if it comes from that region. We have all of those things waiting to be discovered and invested in. So we are, we are just, again, I'm going to repeat your words. We are at the cusp. We don't need to, we just need to change how the game is played for the Western audience. There is a Western model of doing things for the whole world, but the way the Indians are going to play that game is on our strengths. And that is how I won the Woolmark. Curiosity. I knew from the beginning, or at least thankfully, I had the advice from the likes of Asha Bakshi and my mentors that when I'm going to Italy, I can't beat Italians at Italian. I can beat the Italians at Indian. And that is what we played on, and that is how we won the laurels. And we managed to do innovation. We took India to the West, but at the same time, it was the silhouettes were not alien to the West. So it was like a perfect storm that we created. I think that needs to happen in every nook in India, and
Good
young
example,
people can do
actually.
that.
Yeah. Sujit, are you in a tough spot here? How are you allowed to innovate in the film industry?
Films are very limited, limited in the sense that if you look at it a fashion sense or anything in a creative level, because you're always in a box where your script is the boss. So you have to very underplay it in the sense that, and also we allow the characters to to emote more than the attires what they're wearing. We always want that, especially the movies which I go and do that, and make sure that it's not people when somebody's coming and saying you that I really like your costumes. Your costumes really stood out. I feel it as an insult to me. I mean, if at all I have done that. So that's a problem with the movies. I mean, you can't be. I mean, if you're really doing your work at the best, you cannot be the superstar. I mean, your work. I mean, you really have to underplay it. I always wondered. I will say that most of the movies which I go and do, especially the real movies, and that the Malayalam movies are very like they are, people say they're realistic and, otherwise innovative and things like that. So you really have to underplay your costumes. So there are certain movies which is happening right now, which is more like the periodic movies or, the period, those kind of movies. Otherwise, there are some things which is fresh and fine happening right now, maybe last 3 or 4 years. So we don't have that much of scope to, maybe like a Bollywood films, so you have a lot of songs and, that option is there. So we are more into the real side. So it's a little difficult for you to, make your costume stand out.
But I'm sure you'll always have an item number to dress at some point. So.
But there's, we use very less clothes for that.
So, I'd like to add for the movie industry. See, we know that we are in a very dangerous space when a groom from Kashmir starts looking exactly the same as the groom from Kerala. We know that McDonaldification of a groom has happened. That is a dangerous space for Indians. See, we've been celebrating our diversity. I think we need to continue celebrating our diversity. So, I've had the honor and pleasure to have witnessed Malayali weddings, Tamil weddings, and Kannadiga weddings, and Andhra weddings. I'm married to a half Telugu person. Kurgi, that I've not been to. So, what's beautiful, and Bengali weddings. What's beautiful is that each groom, there is a certain amount of individuality, and when it comes to the modern values of environmentalism and all of that, the grooms are sensitively dressed to their environments. If it's too hot down south, the grooms are wearing a veshti and they're topless. They're not sweating and having to blast ACs and spend all of that electricity and resources wearing a sherwani, which is 10 kilos, right? So that is something that Bollywoodification can be reversed by these Kantara like independent movies. Movies have the power which we designers don't. So I think that is where designers don't have that power which the director has, but the designer has to develop a power of convincing the directors that, just the way they made the sherwanis cool, we have to start making the veshti cool, or we have to start making the dhoti cool, we have to start making the sari cool. We have Raw Mango, we have Sabyasachi who have managed to make the sari cool, but there is a long way to go with veshtis and dhotis. I think South has done very well. I think we in North need to emulate a lot from the South in that regard, but I think there is a lot more that needs to be done.
But in India, I think we have started rejecting what is truly ours. This morning when I landed at the Kochi airport, I said, now I'm in Kerala, I have to first buy banana chips. I'll get crisp, fresh banana chips over here. So I walked
The thin
in
wafer
the airport
kinds.
from cafe to cafe. Do you have banana chips? No. We have peri peri this, we have peri peri that, but no banana chips. So on the way in, I asked the student escorting me, young Mohsin, I said, which is the best place to buy banana chips? And he looked very blank about it.
See,
Then
like
he-
I said, natural knack of picking the worst from the West.
This is the problem, and then we give up our own. But I have friends who come back from Kerala with the most fantastic banana chips, so I know it's still being made over here, no doubt about it. But
Yeah.
finding it is the problem.
That's one of the one point, where he was asking about the young designers and the older ones. That's because we always have that, as a younger one, we might be the innovative one, but we always tend to miss the so-called the
point.
basic ones. So that's very true.
Prasad,
So,
last
I did
night,
something-
ironically, when I went upstairs for dinner in my hotel, the entire menu was dal makhani, paneer tikka. I said, I'm from Delhi, I don't need any of this. Then a friend was kind enough to take me to a roadside dhaba
And there
for
you found-
what we call tattu dosha and sambar and all.
So I'll tell you, Kerala has a very big part in my life. A couple of things that have happened in my life, like Kerala Mundo has been a big part of that. For my own wedding, I was so ill prepared that on the day of the engagement, our elders decided that we are getting married on the day of the engagement. Otherwise, the original marriage date was 3 months later in November. So I had, luckily, my wife's wedding attire was already ready 3 months early. But I had not even thought of what I was going to wear 3 months. I just took it easy. Like, I have to make things for myself, so I'll do it later. This is 15 years back. So luckily I had one sample which was like a black velvet bangala. But black is a very inauspicious color for us. So my mother said that you can't sit in the puja with a black velvet. Then I had to decide what I was going to wear under it. Fortunately for me, I had with me a Kerala mundu, which I had bought for a mundu party that had happened in Delhi. It was a silk mundu, with a gold border. I decided to wear the Kerala mundu in a UP dhoti style. Luckily, another amazing thing was that Kerala mundu comes with a angavastram, which I had not cut it off. It was still part of it. So that whole dhoti was like a 7-meter dhoti. So it added a lot of volume. So I wore that black bangala with that mundu tied like a dhoti with a kurta. And at the time of the puja, I took off the black bangala and everybody thought I'd changed and come. So it looked like a different. So that's how we took more use.
That's innovation.
The same outfit I recommended to Abhijit Banerjee for his Nobel ceremony award in Stockholm. So Abhijit wore the black bangala with the Kerala mundu tied in a Bengali style dhoti this time. And that became one of the most discussed outfits in the world. It's now the only outfit on a permanent display at the Nobel Museum. Yes.
Suket, with that happy note, that clock turned red a few minutes ago and they sounded the bell. We all came from outside and we think that we are great people.
I think we just started innovating.
at the risk of getting thrown out, let's stop this here.
Wrap it there.
And I thank you for your time and very,
Thank you,
very
Vinod.
Thank you so much for having
inviting
us.
us. Thank you so much.
Thank you so
Thank
all.
you, everybody.
Thank
Thank you, Jain University. Thank you, each and everybody over here.